Hi, I'm Cyrus the Skeptic, and you're watching Atheist Edge.
Jainis, Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Jews, and Sikhs secretly know that Islam is the one true religion. They are just envious. Just lay low, my beloved followers. I will give you the command to wipe them out in due time. I am the man. That's very secret. That's a very secret thing that they believe.
It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
Yeah, and here's another thing about the believers, which confuses me. They seem to be incapable of thinking hypothetically. Isn't that bizarre? So if you tell them, okay, let's say for the sake of argument that what you say is true, and then if that were the case, then this. And they take that and say, so you admit that it's true. They don't understand what a hypothetical is.
Are you on the same page as me? Because it seems to me in my 53 years that believers are incapable of entertaining a hypothetical. Like if I say, if the universe did not have a beginning, if it was always let's say the universe was has always been here.
Mm-hmm.
If I explain that to them as a hypothetical, they cannot entertain that idea. They cannot entertain the idea that the universe didn't have a beginning. Does that blow your mind?
It does. And I had an argument with somebody about this the other day where they couldn't wrap their head around the fact that there are cosmogonists who say that, that the universe did not have a beginning in time, that matter and energy are eternal, that they were never created in any model. There are different models where time may have begun, where matter and energy may have flooded in from a multiverse, or the matter and energy was just always here, and that time is an asymptote that that eventually arches into an acceleration to where time reaches its normal spans. But there's no model where matter and energy are created, none, and they can't accept that. And the argument is ended right there.
Or I've asked, if Jesus wasn't if he was the Son of God, I will grant you that he was the Son of God, but that the Trinity is not true, that Jesus is a demigod subordinate to God. If that, then X, right? And
Yep.
I try to talk about that, and they cannot grasp the concept. It's
They
almost
cannot think hypothetically.
they cannot. No, they cannot think hypothetically. They can't. It's impossible for them.
Only theists help orphans, the homeless, or others in need. I'd better call the foundation beyond belief and let them know they don't exist. It's interesting saying that only thieves help orphans, the homeless, or others in need. That's not true. I have met people who are not religious at all, and they're very nice. They will go out of their way to help. Now, when I think about the theists who do help people, I will tell you, I live in the UK, and there was a time I fell on hard times, and myself and my two boys, we need, just for a few weeks, got some food from the food shelter. We call them food banks in the UK. And they brought the box of food, and everything was stamped with "Jesus loves you." Everything, the tins, the food, the even the toothbrush, what was in there, even the toothpaste was stamped "Jesus loves you." And my son at the time, anytime I cooked food, he'll ask, Mom, is that the Jesus love you food? And I'll say, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. But it was interesting. Stickers on every single item. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. So when you're eating the food, always remember, Jesus loves you. It's ridiculous, I think.
You don't even bat an eyelash when I talk about all the violence God has condoned in the Bible. But while it's harem to criticize the violence that was committed in Allah's name in the Quran, clearly one's not any better than the other, but they are definitely handled just differently. Christians, it is the prominent religion in the world, Christianity. I would assert that violence in the Bible is acceptable by the majority of Christians because U.S. laws are based on our faith. So while it was accepted in the Bible, I think the humanitarian side of the Bible was reversed in our laws to protect its citizens. Allah is all-consuming. From what you eat, dress, act, conduct business, and your family. The dots are very close together in their religion, but their religion does not care for its women or its children, and it will eliminate them for the smallest infractions.
Did you ever stop and wonder how big 50 million actually is? Because over 50 million murders have been committed in the name of Catholicism. Here's just a few. At the Crusade in Béziers, France, 20,000 were slaughtered. You know who was in charge of that? Pope Innocent III. 900,000 Waldensian Protestants were butchered over a 30-year period. You want to know who did that? Pope Paul III. In 1685, over 500,000 French Protestant Huguenots were slain by Roman Catholic soldiers. Pope Innocent XI is to blame for that one. 60,000 non-Catholics were castrated and drowned in Colombia from 1949 to 1953. Who's to blame for this? Pope Pius XII. What do all these atrocities have in common? It's a pope, it's a pope, it's a pope, it's a pope, it's a pope! It's a pope!
And this is one that I actually write a lot about. It's in my book, Proving History. I have a whole section on miracles. I've done a few blogs on miracle reasoning. I call this related to the smell test. But one of the reasons why we doubt miracles, why we have a prior skepticism, a prior doubt of any miracle claim, is for one of the many reasons. But one of them is this, that you point out. It's uncanny that the more science can explain, the less we see of supernatural occurrences, like stigmata, wounds received by the faithful, which correspond to the crucifixion of Jesus, anatomically inaccurately, I'll point out. Visions, miraculous healings, answered prayers, magical relics, bleeding statues, and youth fountains. Saints. I like how you throw saints in there at the end. This is true, actually. So Craig Keener, a Christian apologist, wrote this massive 2-volume set. He loves writing massive multi-volume sets of things. Christian apologist. He wrote this 2-volume set on miracles where he's trying to debunk Hume's argument against miracles by saying, no, there's tons and tons of miracle claims, so therefore there's tons and tons of miracles. They're real. But he can only find these miracle claims in locations where no one could investigate them, or through traditions that can't be investigated scientifically. So he basically is just collecting miracle legends, not actual miracles. And that's the case. Whenever scientists can't get to it, suddenly there's miracles everywhere. But when you can actually investigate suddenly they all vanish, or they're all exposed as fraudulent or not really miraculous, etc. That's actually true. And the fact that it happens all the time, like all the time, there's never been an exception. For at least 100 years, we've been doing paranormal research on a scientific basis for at least 100 years, from Houdini from onward, right? And no, it always comes out this way. Like, these things disappear. I love the stigmata in particular, because it was the belief that Jesus would be nailed through the palms that caused stigmata to come out. But it turns out, like, historically and anatomically, that's incorrect. Jesus would not have, even if he would nailed at all, not all crucifixion victims would be nailed through the arms. They'd be tied to the post. But even if they were nailed just to torture them, they would be nailed through the wrists, right? Not the hands.
Right.
And so that's but there was the popular belief through Christian art in the Middle Ages and later that Jesus was nailed through the hands. So when people have stigmata, oh, look, I have the wounds of Jesus. And actually, you have the wounds of a 14th century Renaissance painter.
Exactly.
And that's another example of it's either fraud or psychosomatic stuff. But you can do the same thing down the line for item after item visions and so on. It all comes out the same way. I always recommend people to just listen to the entire Tim Minchin song, God Cured the Cataracts in Sam's Mom's Eyes.
Oh, that's a great one.
It really is, because he incorporates into his lyric every possible alternative explanation that we've usually found. In his lyrics, he lists every conceivable thing that actually has happened when we've investigated miracles, the true thing that we found out it to be, case after case after case. And so he just lists all of the possibilities, but they're not just possibilities. We have real documented cases where we've investigated things and found it was one of those things that he lists. And it's a massive list of, they're not miracles, they're other things. But it's a really great song, philosophically apt and well done, and also funny. Christians won't find it funny because it's mocking, but
There's a funny graph online. I'll post it if I can find it, but it shows it's a graph that shows the occurrence of miracles way up here, and then as soon as cameras are invented, the occurrence of miracles goes down, and then when Photoshop gets invented, it goes back up.
Yep. Yeah, and the probability of that coincidence is low unless miracles are bogus. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
The Eids, there's two of them. There's Eid al-Fitra, which is the breaking of the fast after Ramadan. But the even more important one is, I believe it's done after Hajj, is the Eid al-Adha, which I guess you say Eid Mubarak, congratulations. It's one of the holiest in Islam, and it's celebrating the willingness of Abraham, as we know him, to sacrifice his son Isaac to God. I wonder why they never mentioned Jephthah's daughter, who actually got sacrificed. They always mention Isaac's, who got a reprieve at the last minute, and God provided a ram. So what they do is they Kirbani, which is sacrifice, a goat, sheep, camel, or cow. And then they separate the animal and, they slit its throat, just like kosher, the way of sacrificing the halal meat is bled out because of blood magic, of course. And blood being sacred, I guess 1/3 it goes to the poor or vulnerable, which is good, and 1/3 to the family, and 1/3 to the neighbors. And traditionally, people reveled in it. They'd grab the blood while it was pouring out of the animal's neck. And Jim said this is, cruel, and it is. It's barbaric, and that modern day Muslims don't do that quite as much. They don't want to ruin their clothes and various things, but they would smear themselves and their children with the blood. But often now they just donate money or buy meat and take it to neighbors and that. But of course the meat is still killed in the halal sacrificial way, which, like I said, is the same as the kosher way, with kosher being blessed by a rabbi. I don't know if an imam has to bless the animal. I would assume so. Personally, I think as far as cruelty, killing animals to eat them is always cruel. It is even when they do each other. I always feel bad for the victim animal, but obviously in the wild, there's times when they play with it or when they're teaching their young. It's horrific. But us now, modern day, the industrialized farming, their whole life is horrific. They're raised in horrible ways and killed in horrible ways, sometimes hung on hooks before they're dead, young pigs, or gassed even, and I guess the gas burns, horrifically burns their eyeballs and such. And it's really for nothing but taste pleasure, because we can get everything we need nutritionally from supplements and such. And I know Alex O'Connor's been talking a lot about it, and vegans get almost militant about it, and I understand, because they feel like it's urgent. And even dairy farming, I don't consider it as bad when it's small, personal, family-run dairies. The cow gets to have her calf and raise it until weaning and such, and the calf's still probably going to be butchered, but then she stays in milk as long as she has milked. And they would literally come home to get milked, after being out in pasture and stuff, because they get full and it hurts. But with the religious stuff, it all goes back to blood magic, which includes like Jesus' sacrifice and all this crap, the blood of the lamb, the blood, which to me, that's again another thing against religion. But and I think it shows our animalistic backgrounds, that we evolved from. I think, as Hitchens once put it, it was devised by creatures that are one chromosome away from a chimpanzee, and doesn't it show? Actually, I don't think, I know there are violent chimpanzees, aberrations, but just like humans, they are aberrations. Things have gotten better, though. Like I said, modern day Muslims tend to just donate money or buy meat and donate it and stuff. So that's as far as the Eid al-Adha.